Welcome back to 4 Geeks by Geeks, the place where geeks come to geek out. This is your Monday Night Geek Out Sesh, and as always, I am Boser. How are you guys doing tonight? I'm getting things on my screen I can't get out of my eyes. Welcome back to 4 Geeks by Geeks, and of course, I am not alone tonight. I got my BFF, T, in the house. Everyone say,
that's me.
Hey.
Boser, I just want you to know, if I could animate tattoos, I would absolutely animate the 4 Geeks by Geeks logo coming together, because it's just fantastic. So if at some point in time, like, we can find a way to digitally animate tattoos on our own body, I would 100% do that.
That is absolutely in the future. Like, why wouldn't that be in the future? I'm actually impressed that that's never doesn't often come up in like futuristic cartoons or anime. Like, why wouldn't that just be a thing that we can do in the future?
I can't think of like a feasible way for it to make sense unless like you have like nanobots like pixelating themselves and moving constantly and bringing I don't know. That's great. I like that
dope.
idea.
Anyway, if this is your first Geek Out Sesh, welcome. We talk to a new geek guest each and every week, Monday nights at 8:30 Eastern Standard here live on Twitch. But if you were watching back on YouTube or listening back on podcast, thank you. We love you. And feel free to stop on by on a Monday night, y'all. You hear? T, what else we got going on lately?
Let's see. We just closed out our merch store for our crossover with Let's Get Rollin'. If you missed out on that merch, you should be sad because it was fantastic merch. However, we did get to release all of the merch for everybody that submitted t-shirt design contest. So up until, is it the end of the year you can get those, or is it end of the month?
The design entries that did not quite win are till the end of this month. So if you want to get on them, jump on them now.
And I need to do that, or otherwise I'm going to forget them, and Alec will never let me live it down if I don't buy his t-shirts.
But that winning design, which is that Chef's Smooch tarot card made by Bird Suck, featuring this guy and this guy. Wait, this guy and this guy? That way? Can't do my thumbs the right way.
Whatever combination of directions we exist in.
That'll be available all year long, and a portion of the profits go straight to that artist. So support him, support the channel, support yourselves, support Christmas.
Outside of that, we get another Geek Out session this week. As much as I would love for that to be a constant all the time thing, we just don't have the contacts and the sources for that. But we'll be doing another Geek Out session. Well, I will. You decided you wanted to work instead of hang out with us.
It's not quite something I decided. It's more like something I was forced to.
On Wednesday, we'll have Decent Studios on. We've been trying to get him on the show for several months now, but scheduling as adults is worse than scheduling TTRPG games with any friends. So
with adults.
With adults, exactly. Then we got City of Mist still going on Thursday. And on Sunday, we start our very own Discord D&D Adventure League.
So cool!
So if you ever are interested in learning to play Dungeons & Dragons but don't have the time to commit to a full campaign, this Adventure League is exactly what you're looking for.
How do you mean?
So basically how it breaks down is if you have a DM like myself or Jeff Sitz or anybody else, you can just simply set up a session in our Kingdom Come universe written and created by myself. You're like, hey, I'm going to do a session for this level, this many characters. If you guys are interested in playing, you kind of just come and go. You can have reoccurring characters and help them grow with XP, or you can kind of create characters, whatever the session fits. So whether DM or player, there's an area to play just whenever you feel like it.
I'm so excited, and I'm so thrilled that that's something that you and Jeff Sitz just kind of took on. Like, that's literally like what 4 Geeks by Geeks was meant to be. So thank you for making that available.
I was telling Sky about it. She's like, please don't tell me you added more to your schedule. I was like, no. I'm just going to do it when I'm available. It's not like a weekly commitment because I don't have that in me. As much as I would like, yeah, I could DM every day of the week. I don't have the creative juices to pull that off.
I think you do. You just don't know how to tap into them. But more on that on Sunday. Stop by and join that. But I want to know the question of the day. You can use Command QOTD to find out what the question is, which is, how did you first get into cosplay? Because if you haven't been able to tell from the posts all week, tonight is all about cosplay. And not about a specific cosplayer, but cosplay in general. And as I've been thinking about this, and I watched the film of the filmmaker that we are about to speak with, I realize why we have so many cosplayers on this channel, but I'll come back to that when it's appropriate. So T, first, how'd you get into cosplay?
I haven't gotten into cosplay, but I know what my first cosplay I want to be.
What is it?
And that's Joker from Persona 5.
Nice. It's a solid cosplay. It's a great break-in cosplay.
Exactly. And it's not. I think it'd be nice and simple. It wouldn't be a whole lot of extra work. So
You just
my lack of creative ass could absolutely pull that off feasibly.
I would say the first way I got into cosplay wasn't really cosplay. It was just I was obsessed with Halloween and obsessed with wearing costumes. And then when I found out that you could go to a con and like everybody was doing it, it kind of changed my world. And it's not something I do all the time, but when I go to a con,
I mean,
have to
kinda.
cosplay.
You do it more than outside of like professional cosplayers. I think you do it more than most people do, because at some extent, in like your job directly correlates to your
Okay,
love of
sure.
cosplay.
In theater, it's cosplay, but I don't know. It's a little different in my mind.
I mean, likely you're probably not wrong, but
enough about us, because y'all didn't come to hang out with us. Unless you did, then just let us know. But I think you really are excited to hang out with our guest tonight, and you should be really excited because we kind of approached him months ago when they were coming up to the release of their newest cosplay documentary, and it's now available. We're going to find out where you can watch it. We're going to get some clips tonight, and we get to ask all the questions on what went into it and all the goodness. So without any ado, with no further ado, it's like, what's the phrase? With no more any more ado, please give it up for one of the directors of Cosplay Universe, Mr. Jordan, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Wow.
golf clap.
There's hundreds of people here. Wow.
Hundreds and thousands. We're going to do some rearranging a little bit. We're going to move you over here. No, over here.
Don't worry, we're professionals.
Clearly. And it bugs me if I'm not looking at you, so I'm going to flip my camera. There we go. Jordan, welcome to 4 Geeks by Geeks. How are you doing today?
Oh, very well. Extremely excited. Long time listener. First time.
Caller.
Twitcher. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
We do help people hit that first time Twitch thing quite often.
We're like, wait, people are still on Twitch and haven't all migrated to YouTube? That's weird. What are you doing here?
Isn't that what's happening? Yeah.
It's a big movement, yeah. YouTube started a streaming service just like Twitch, and they're paying more and doing it better in ways. But that's
I'm ready to be wooed if they want my audience.
I'm sure they're coming at your door.
Yeah.
But Jordan, before we get into tonight's Geek Out Sesh, which I'm so excited, I've been looking forward to this for weeks. Answer the question of the day. What first got you into cosplay, if at all?
That's a good question. I think, well, it does kind of go with the origins of how this project came to be about. And it's pretty much, I went to Comic-Con in 2009 because my filmmaking partner, Patrick, and I were on this mission to tell the story of comic book writer Grant Morrison's life. And we figured out that he's a pretty popular comic book writer, mostly for, well, he's done DC and everything, but we just figured that we could get all these interviews happening all at once, and we just got our minds blown of like, whoa, Comic-Con is insane. And that is, I think, the first time I saw in person cosplay as this huge subculture that had evolved way before I ever knew it existed. And yeah, that was probably the intro, just in person, just seeing what Comic-Con brought out, 2009.
And like in the movie that you mentioned, 2009, like 2000 to 2010 was really where cosplay started to pick up a lot of steam.
Yeah.
And people found that they could possibly make a career out of it. So I'm sure you caught it in the early stages of that first Comic-Con.
Yeah, that was a lucky first Comic-Con. Well, I guess depending on how you look at it, that was the Comic-Con where like Twilight Madness had reached its peak.
Oh God. Easiest cosplays ever.
Well, it was like a big moment for, I think, San Diego Comic-Con in general, because all of the film industry just started coming and spending a crap ton of money. And that was the moment Comic-Con was looked at as this way to pitch all the big tentpole projects. Mm-hmm. But there was a certain energy that was there for sure. I remember that was also the year that Avatar had taken over all of the signs and stuff that were all around it. So just like a big moment for the film industry. I guess I was a small moment for the film industry showing up. But yeah.
Small for now. It's going to grow and grow and grow. I mean, you're on 4 Geeks by Geeks, so you're probably going to blow up after tonight.
Yeah. Cosplay Universe is the next Avatar.
Exactly.
Yeah. You've only got a few $1 billion to make the match. Pocket change.
You probably spent close to that on Cosplay Universe.
Oh yeah, I still have not. This might be a question later. Still have yet to dawn on the cosplay outfit of choice. I've never cosplayed, but I feel a part of the community regardless as a cosplay documentarian, if that's a thing.
You're telling the story of cosplayers.
Right.
Just like we don't know shit about shit, but we're part of the community because we're telling their stories. That's how you get around it.
Right.
But before we get too far, because even listening to you, I'm like, I want to ask a question about that. I want to know about that.
Same.
Let's back up and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do as a geek.
Yeah, I would say I am a film nerd. I'm a film geek. Like, that is definitely my fandom. Just loving film. Yeah. And, but I also, like I was saying earlier, I just can't seem to help but find stories about like emerging communities. I seem to just need to tell stories of communities. I don't know what that says about me, but cosplay seemed like a good community to try and tell their story.
Okay, before we get any further, I gotta know, did you make the Bronies documentary too?
I did not. Damn, a community that went...
You missed it. You missed it.
I had to bring up the one thing I've always dreamed of.
It's what keeps you up at night. You're welcome.
Do people usually walk off your interviews by like 5 minutes in?
I'm going to be honest, it is a goal I have. I know that's a very terrible and toxic thing. I don't feel like you're really pushing the envelope enough if you don't get somebody to the point where they island boys out of Impulsive.
Yeah, I agree. That would be the highest honor, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're not pulling back any punches anymore. Where were you?
Yeah. Who was your first crush? Answer now.
That's an off-stream joke. You guys had to be there. Alex says, I mean, Boser got blackout drunk on stream. Does that count? That's never happened. I don't remember it.
Oh, wow, you can't prove that in a court of law.
Yeah.
Solid way to leave.
The VOD's gone.
It is. So, Jordan, what is your background as a filmmaker?
Oh, yeah. So, let's see. I actually relate to myself more than anything as a cinematographer. For most of work stuff, I do a lot of the actual, I'm the dude behind the camera lighting stuff.
Oh, okay. I was like, for the idiots in the house, define the difference, but thank you for doing that.
Oh, wait, say it again?
I said for the idiots in the house, not me, could you please define the difference? But you just did, so thank you.
Oh, okay. Because, yeah, well, my partner Patrick, my filmmaking partner Patrick and I, we grew up together, or we went to kindergarten together, but we both just really inspired each other to be just film addicts throughout high school. We were always taking our student projects and turning them into films. Then we went our separate ways when we went to college, went to different colleges, but then once we both graduated, we just started making weird science fiction web series. We made this like 30-part web series called The Third Age, all about this like bizarre story of this guy who thinks he's invented this consciousness-inducing liquid that will save all the world's problems, but he ends up going insane. Who could have seen that?
And what was this called?
It's called The Third Age. It's a 30-part YouTube web series.
30-part?
Yeah.
Was it about the same as Slenderman? The era?
Possibly.
That was my first like multi-part YouTube series I ever saw.
Slenderman may have made it more to the global consciousness than the Third Age, and it's like 37 views. But we basically taught ourselves how to make movies while making this web series.
Yeah.
And then we actually repurposed almost all of the Third Age into our Grant Morrison documentary, because I don't know if you guys know who Grant Morrison is, but he's this he is a really cool. He's the subject of our first documentary. He's this guy who is a incredible comic book writer, but has like very crazy psychedelic viewpoint on pretty much everything. He's kind of like, he's a self-named shaman, and I relate to him as that. He's this dude who had this out-of-body alien experience when he was like 35, and it informs everything that he's ever done. But he's a genius. He's a total genius. So we ended up repurposing our entire web series for like crazy psychedelic visuals to help tell his story, which is perfect, really.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, you can watch that whole movie on YouTube. We are almost at 100,000 views, which is pretty exciting because we made that movie in 2010. And it's cool that the movie finally, well, at least 110,000 people saw some part of it. I mean, I don't know what the view count actually.
I mean, it seems huge. We don't have any video on YouTube past 4 views, so that seems
not true.
Pretty high.
We hit 10.
Not on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought, yes, 10. I thought you meant 10K or something. I was like,
oh no, I just meant the number 10.
What's that movie called?
To rejoin you guys, it's called Grant Morrison Talking with Gods. The 100,000 views are because everybody who's like people who are in the comic book world want to know who he is. It's less to do with our filmmaking than who is Grant Morrison, which is.
Are you really right? Are right on the cusp, aren't you? 99,000.
I know. Every time I hang out with my friend, we're like, we got to do something special for that 100,000 view.
I'm gonna push it to everybody. We're gonna get you to 100K.
But yeah, that was the first film. That's where I left my job at. Have you guys ever seen the show Pawn Stars?
Yeah.
My first job ever was I was an assistant editor for the pilot of the show Pawn Stars.
Cool.
And, yeah, the production. I lived in New York City at the time. Our company came up with this show called Pawn Stars that, I'll be honest, I just never saw it going anywhere. I was like, all right,
like, that sounds boring. No one's gonna bring
out.
anything in but like a pack of cigarettes and some gun they just stole.
Yeah. I was like, all right, I get it. They figured out a good pun that'll probably last the season or something. Boy, was I wrong. But yeah, after like 2 years of working on that, I remember telling my boss, like, I must leave and I must make a story of Grant Morrison. And he was like, who the hell is that? And what is wrong with you? Why are you leaving?
It's my life's calling. Don't shit on it.
Yeah. But that's where we began with we made a documentary about Grant Morrison. Then we made a documentary about Image Comics, the company that created Spawn and The Walking Dead.
Cool. Okay.
See that's also on YouTube. Then we made a film called Chris Claremont's X-Men. We interviewed the creator of the X-Men, Chris Claremont, and made a whole documentary about him, also available on YouTube. And that's actually where Cosplay Universe comes in, because while making this documentary all about like the origins of the X-Men, we let's see what happened. So obviously we have a talking head interview. We have a bunch of amazing comic book pages to like make the movie interesting, but we just felt like we needed something else to give this film some visual pizzazz. At which point we had just moved to Los Angeles from New York in 2013, and we reached out to the local this X-Men cosplayers that we thought were doing like great work, and asked them like, hey, we're trying to tell the story of X-Men. Are you down? Can you do a photo shoot with us? At which point we reached out to Lauren. If you remember in the film, there's Lauren from Castle Corsetry.
Yeah.
And we just found her randomly on the internet, and we're like, help us tell this X-Men story. And we just really vibed with Lauren. She was really cool. I was like, man, these people are incredible artists. It was just like so much fun, a really good vibe on the set.
Oh, thank you for the raid. We have a raid. Jordan, this is a raid. It's when people from other channels get done streaming and they bring it here. Isn't that nice?
Oh, wow, a raid. This is excellent. All right.
Thanks, DJ.
Lead the way. What do we do with the raid? How do we treat these people?
We say thank you, and then we do shout outs. Like Alex gonna do a shout out for they already did because he's a great mod. And
Sometimes.
we say thank you, and we say we are talking with Jordan, who created a movie called Cosplay Universe. You can see the posters behind him. It's a documentary about cosplay. So if you're a cosplayer, this documentary does a great job of capturing the heart, the soul, and the spirit of the cosplay community, and we get to talk to him. So hang out, ask your questions in the chat. And you also dab and start sipping.
That says stripping 100%, you old bastard.
Oh, God. Where are my glasses? I can't see without my glasses.
All right. Well, this raid interrupted my really long rant about where came from.
Just in time. Just kidding.
That'll teach a raid to happen.
So it was, you linked up with Lauren from Castle Corsetry that's featured in Cosplay Universe, and found out that she's a fantastic artist and she's got a lot of energy, great energy.
But here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Lauren was on this show called Heroes of Cosplay that had just aired.
Yeah.
It was a very controversial show for the cosplay community because it was all over Sci-Fi Channel back in 2013. It was like one of their flagship programs. And its lens at looking at cosplay was a total reality competition show. It like, kind of created this concept that everyone who's a cosplayer who means anything is
cutthroat.
Who is like trying to compete at this circuit of all these different Comic-Cons, which is somewhat fabricated. I mean, people like to compete, but there's no real circuit. They kind of took that liberty. And Lauren was explaining that a lot of her friends were on the show. She was on their show as a judge, and they were all kind of pissed off that to some degree that this is what everyone thinks cosplay is. And to them, it was like, you know, creating cool art projects with their friends, having fun and this and that. So we just started talking with Lauren, and organically it was like, wouldn't it be cool if somebody made a project that exposed what cosplay really is? And that was the actual root of the whole of Cosplay Universe. It was initially poorly titled as Cosplanet, the evolution of cosplay.
And I can't believe this doesn't exist yet. Like, cosplay is just skyrocketing and becoming a staple of geek culture, a true staple. And the fact that this is the first time on the scene, so you got ahead of it, and this thing's about to blow up.
I hope you're right, because I would not recommend anybody try to make this movie. It took 7 years.
That was my next question. Was
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's a 7-year project. So if someone is going to try and make this movie, good luck to you.
You're going to be 7 years too late because cosplay will be so over by then.
Yeah.
Can we show the trailer just to give some people a little idea of what we're talking about?
I think that's a terrible idea. Absolutely not. Everyone should use their imagination. Okay.
Twist my arm.
Here's a sneak peek at Cosplay Universe, which you can find on a lot of different streaming services.
Cosplay is a social art form. It's for people. It connects people. Cosplay is transformation.
Cosplay is the art of dressing up as a character that you love.
That is accompanied by an internal or psychological transformation that could include aspects of personality, power, gender, sexuality.
I started getting into cosplay and I started dressing up as male characters, and I was like, oh, this is so much more comfortable for me.
In the beginning, I was always very surprised to see fans dressed up as comic book characters, very often characters I was involved with. Now, this dress-up business has become such a big thing at comic book conventions, and comic book conventions have become such big things.
I mean, cosplay is so popular now that there are these huge international competitions, the largest being the World Cosplay Summit, which is essentially like the Olympics of cosplay.
Italy this year spent 4 years, a lot of money as well.
Everybody is really nervous. There's a lot of stress.
With Team Mexico, they're the kind of team that sticks in your head.
We like to be really passionate, and I think when you like something, you give everything for it.
Some of the most exciting experiences of my life have all happened because I was in a costume.
This year's world champion is
And if you're just joining us, we are talking with one of the co-directors of Cosplay Universe, Jordan Rennert. That gives me chills. And I'm not even like I said, a full-time cosplayer, but like watching that documentary felt like I just left a con, and it made me, I was ripping my hair out because I need to be at one right now.
I was gonna say when you said that you got chills that you should put on a jacket, but you're already wearing one. So.
Well, better put this Spider-Man blanket over me then.
Oh, there you go. Nice. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think what the movie kind of did do is we spent 7 years filming all kinds of stuff from cons, and then we try to put it in a super, like we put it all in one contained moment. So that was our goal. It's like you're drinking the elixir of 7 years of cons, but we cut out all the crappy parts. So now you're just ingesting the best moments of a con, and that's why you're having that experience.
Which I do have to ask, and this is going to be a very broad question of how do you determine over 7 years what qualifies to be that quality content that was able to make it to the actual like screening?
Well, I don't know if you can bring in John, who's I think now available too, but that's a good segue for him.
Ooh.
Yeah, definitely planned that for sure. Like I saw him pop in. I was like, I know this guy is going to be the one to answer this question for me. So,
well, let's welcome the fellow co-director, Jonathan. Ooh, that's weird. That's weird. Oh, now we're all mixed up. Okay, you look at him. I'm going to look at Jonathan. There we go. Hi, Jonathan. Welcome to 4 Geeks by Geeks.
Hey, guys. What's happening?
Oh, just talking about this really great documentary that we just watched recently. Have you heard of it? It's called Cosplay Universe.
Dude, I heard of it. I think 7 years of my life was wrapped up in that thing.
Oh, my God. So, were you able to hear T's question a moment ago?
No, I didn't catch.
Yeah. So my question is, 7 years is a long time to be shooting. That's a lot of content to accumulate over that time. How do you dictate over that 7 years what qualifies boiling down to this is what should be seen over this hour and a half to really tell your guys' story? Because that's a lot. That's 7 years of your life. Like, how do you determine what's worth hour and a half?
Yeah, we didn't shoot for 7 years. We had a pandemic. We had a bankruptcy. Then we had another bankruptcy, and then So it's the thing about docs. It's a weird world. Like you can't make a living doing them really. So you're doing a bunch of other stuff, and then you're doing back to the doc, back to the doc, back to the doc. So the content was an interesting thing because Jordan went out and found amazing people, and we started out with this one film, and then the thing about going to Japan and learning about the anime manga culture and the whole competition in Nagoya, Japan, became like this other movie. And Jordan found this amazing love triangle, if you will, between mentorship and relationship between Mexico and Italy. And there was like this great story that I was like, yeah, Jordan, like pursue that, right? And then we found this guy, Tom, back in the New York Comic-Con, walking through the crowd of New York Comic-Con with a 10'6" Hulkbuster costume. And I'm like, Jordan, that guy? Find that guy. Let's go hang out with that guy. And he turned to have this incredible, powerful story. And through that, his associate Key, incredibly powerful story. So all of a sudden, much like they say, the cream rises to the top, and the other cliche, the camera loves who it loves. And story is the most important part of a documentary film. So as those stories developed, other things had to cut back. Right? Because your window is like 85 to 90 minutes tops, and you have to be cognizant of that. So Jordan and I battled a lot. We had a huge board with index cards of different scenes, and the big one, the cream rising to the top, and the other one's going to the bottom, and can we fit that in? Jordan, did you tell him about the cosplay repairman, for example?
I did not. It's a good example. There's another great story that we had to cut that we ended up throwing up on TikTok, and it got 2 million views.
Oh wow!
What? By the way, that was one that I did not want to cut. I love that story. I love that guy because, you know, you go to a con and your sequin buttons fall off, or your headpiece comes unglued, right? Like, you find this guy and he changes your game and makes your day a good one versus a bad one, right? So I was like, he's a crucial part of the thing. And
that's Rocket Props.
That's Rocket Props, yeah, Jacob.
Because I noticed that was in the Google Drive that you shared as a clip, and I was like, I don't remember falling asleep during that, but I don't remember it. Do you mind? I have the clip ready. Do you mind if we just share his story real quick?
Like, I'm
share it. Yes, that'd be great.
Because I fell in love with this guy too, and I immediately wrote him down. I was like, we need to have this guy on the show. I want to talk to him.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, okay. This is Rocket Props, y'all.
My most used tool is my battery-powered hot glue gun. Heats up in about 15 seconds, cools down right away, so I can put it back in, not burn myself. This is my battery pack for my phone and for my hot glue gun. Normal first aid kit, just Band-Aids, stuff like that. Hair ties, long zip ties. Got this thing called a Speedy Stitcher. It's basically a leather awl. It's for fixing thick fabrics. I use it a lot. I do it because I get to meet a lot of people that I wouldn't necessarily meet. Okay.
I have an issue today.
Wandering around a convention in costume is a lot of fun, but you don't necessarily get to stand and talk to people as much as you would when you get to fix their costumes. I'm an engineer by trade, and I really just enjoy the challenge of solving problems with the materials that I have. Well, my hot glue gun seems to not be working at the moment. This is just a hot glue stick, but I'm just using a lighter to heat it up. I had to sneak this past security, though. That should be good. Just don't touch it for a few minutes and it should stay on.
All right, thank you.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Regardless of the convention I go to, even if I'm the only person with a big sign that says cosplay repair, there's somebody going around helping in some way, shape, or form. Cosplayers kind of get each other, and I really like that.
That is the most wholesome thing I have ever seen in my life.
Isn't it?
God, I mean, the director's cut, Jordan. We got to put that back in, man. That's good.
Please do.
We had to cut it.
Why? Why did you have to?
We had to cut it because it's a good explanation of what the challenge of this movie is. Right now, the movie feels like, of course, these scenes go together and this plays together. But like, before you actually insert the scenes, you're a slave to the flow of the story. And because there's really only like a one act, there's only that 1.5 minute segment with Rocket Props, it never really fits into the cosplay universe film, which is a bummer. But because it would just like, the audience would be like, wait, is he coming back? Or like, why? That
it's called a oneer in filmmaking. It's called a oneer. And when you have so many characters that you're trying to pay off, and like I said, the Tom and the Key story, and the key ended up being the key to the film, ending the film with her story. But it is a tough one when you get these winners that you really want to get in there, but how do you do that?
Yeah.
So, but I love his story. I love, and by the way, it really personifies what the culture is. People helping each other. The guy just shows up there, doesn't get paid.
Yeah.
He's just doing it for people. It's like, it's the best thing altruistically you could ever have. Cosplay.
Just to make people's day better, like you said. And that's what really got me throughout this whole documentary was, like I said, you guys did such a great job of capturing the heart and spirit of the cosplay community and showcasing how it is very different than heroes of cosplay. It's not just cutthroat competition. That's a very small niche of it, right? That's a piece that people are competing, but I would say, and tell me if you agree, that the majority of the community doesn't give a lick about competition. It's not why they're cosplaying.
Well, I think it's a social media phenomenon, and there's some amazing cosplayers online. And I don't say they one up with each other, but you just know, like I said back then, you rise to the top. Everybody's trying to show off their wares, but it doesn't seem like it's very territorial in a way. It feels like it's real good vibes, and everybody just kind of out, looking out for each other and propping each other up, really,
I was like halfway through the film when I was thinking, it's interesting that they haven't really mentioned too much about maybe the negative sides of the cosplay community, because there are dark sides. And then right when I had that thought, you guys did address it. You addressed those that are like, you don't look like that character. That's not the gender of the character. That's not exactly like it is in the comics. And so I was impressed that you guys shone a light not only in the positives but that negative side.
Yeah, the bigger thing, the cosplay is not consent thing. That was a bigger theme earlier, and we kind of cut that back because you didn't want to hit that too hard. It was just enough to mention it that, you know, there can be drunken louts at Comic-Cons that will ogle at women and beautiful women or whatever, skimpy outfits. You know, just want to make sure people, when you check that box and put it out there that when you're here, you got to behave, right? It's a safe space for people to just go have fun. But when you do see, you know, it's funny when you're not part of it, you see women walking down the street in skimpy outfits. You know, it's just a weird thing, you know, when there's not other cosplayers around. But we had to name check it, but we didn't want to go too far into it.
So one of the things that I love that you cover is basically like the history of cosplay and how it started and how it's evolved. Can you, Jordan, can you give us a little touch on that?
Oh yeah, well, when we began the project to begin with, we were thinking we were going to go way deeper into the history. And we wanted to inform people where cosplay came from in this fun, kind of quick manner. So a lot of the movie, I'd say the history is about maybe 10 minutes of the hour and 25 minutes.
Yeah.
But I guess to your point of like, well, what's your exact question? Like, where did the history come from? Or, because that would be history itself. Re-clarify your question.
Hold on, I'll jump on that for a second, because when the film started, when Jordan and his partner started the film, they started to make a film about the history of cosplay. And I'm a history guy. I was a history major in school. I love history. But there was so much modern, important stuff going on that it felt boring in a way. Right? So you wanted to make a chapter of the film, but not make a film about it.
Yeah.
And so when I came in, that was my big note. Because every time I watch it, I literally just goes off because it just wasn't enticing, exciting enough. With all the things going on in cosplay, the history is important. You always want to make sure people know history of anything that they're in, but any culture that they're involved with, but it wasn't enough for film. So we kind of used it as a great chapter and moved on. We're trying to do so many different things in the 101 of cosplay universe. So I think that was how that started, just to, you know, back to that conversation about where you start and where you end. That was an example of, there was a lot more of it. But
yeah, I guess I'd like to jump in and explain that. Really, I would say that the film came from two different things. It was the meeting Lauren at the X-Men shoot that we did, which I told you guys that story. But then while we were working on this other documentary called She Makes Comics, which is about the history of women in the comic book industry.
Cool.
While working on that, which you can also see on like Tubi, or you can check that out. It's a really fun movie. One of the main people we profiled was this woman named Wendy Peeney, who was a very successful, incredible, independent comic book writer for this series she created called ElfQuest. And ElfQuest took place she wrote it during the 70s. And she just shared, it was just part of her story of that was that in the 70s, she would go to San Diego Comic-Con and compete in the Red Sonja Masquerade that happened every year during the very early years of Comic-Con, which was that was cosplay in the 1970s. So her story was just crazy to us because she was telling us how like it was just an era where people didn't have to wear clothes so much. There were a lot of new cosplays. It was like swinging 70s vibe of the world. I think I've even got that clip that we could show a little bit to get a, if it's there, it's the one called Wendy Peeney. But we basically...
I'll get it ready.
We learned that, we were like, what the hell? Cosplay came from like basically no clothing. It just showed that we had no clue like really where cosplay came from. And since we had made all these different other documentaries about the comic book and like fandom spaces, we literally wanted to know, like, what is the history of this, and try to get people who lived it to help us tell those stories. So it was a very authentic curiosity is what led us down the path. But as Jonathan said, it became a little, we couldn't be too history centric before, trying to entertain people as well. So it was a balance to find.
But just an example, she goes on the Mike Douglas show in her full-on regalia, and the Mike Douglas show was like the Ellen of its time. It was a daytime, big, huge talk show in the 70s, 80s, and just to give a point of reference.
Here's that clip they were talking about, and see who Wendy Petey is.
Wendy Petey is the godmother of cosplay. She is maybe not the first cosplayer, but she is certainly the root of the tree.
I was 16 years old when I went to my first BayCon, and I experienced the wonderful sight of seeing other people dressed up in costumes that they had made.
Yeah, just a short little clip to kind of give us some reference there.
Also, the animation is something interesting to talk about. We filled in some gaps of stuff we didn't have. We did crowdsource animation. We found a guy in New York. Jordan, did you find that guy in New York?
You mean the illustrator? The illustrator was Patrick's friend who was based in Canada, Eric Zawadzki.
Right. I love this stuff. But it added just such a good flavor to it, to fill in gaps for stuff like that you just saw when you don't have pictures. I really enjoyed that.
It was the perfect thing because, like, as you might have been telling a story or something that you clearly don't have footage of, it helped just kind of connect the dots. And it has that kind of comic book style to it, but not overly done. It was a great cherry on top of the doc.
Everybody go check out Cosplay Universe. It's on Amazon Prime.
And you can use Command Universe if you're here in the chat or if you're watching back on YouTube or listening on podcasts. The links will be below, but that command goes to their link tree and it'll take you to Amazon Prime, to their socials, to their website, so that you can help spread the love of Cosplay Universe. Earlier I made a joke about, did you make the Bronies doc? And Jonathan, are you familiar with the Bronies documentary?
Yes, sir.
I remember years ago, I was at home, I had a night off, and I found it on Netflix or something. And for those who don't understand the reference, bronies are like people who really love My Little Pony, typically adult men or just people that you wouldn't quite fit into their stereotypical lovers of My Little Pony. And almost like on a lark, I watched it, and by the end of it, I was like, holy crap, I am completely misunderstanding the bronies culture. I celebrate them, more power to them. And I kind of got the same feeling that if I was not a cosplayer, that this film would do the exact same.
Well, I think I did another film that Jordan was a cinematographer on called Long Live Rock, Celebrate the Chaos. It's also on Amazon, and it's all about the fandom art fan, why they love this music and why they pierce and grow their hair, tattoo, and crowd surf, their lives to do this stuff. And it's a therapy thing, right? It's really like some people have very mundane lives and 9 to 5 and working, construction or whatever it might be that, this is their release, right? So it's the same thing in cosplay, right? That these niche subcultures that cosplay is now become a mainstream subculture almost. But I'm fascinated by what that looks like and why people do what they do. So the bronies is just another far out there thing. Like, people get into the weirdest niches, and that's what, whatever it is you're into, as long as it's legal, I'm good with it.
Right.
Yeah. I also think that what's cool about cosplay, there's many cool things, but it's cool how, like, in each different moment it has its own purpose. And that's something that I thought was exciting about making this film. Like, in the 70s, there was a certain purpose for cosplay, it seemed. People to congregate, to be in their Woodstock vibe of not wearing very much clothing and just hanging out and having a good time. And now exploration of gender identity is just something that a lot of this generation, is an important thing. It's why there's a huge public discourse about it. And it's just I think something that's everyone in this generation is now like having to look at gender identity through new lenses, and I think the art form of cosplay ends up being this amazing way to discover different parts of yourself that are hidden. And I bet if it wasn't exactly what its top priority, what cosplay was for in the 70s, but now it just kind of takes on whatever the cultural dressings are and lets you find out. I think that might be part of the reason why it's more popular, is that in this like internet culture, we're right now all in these 4 boxes.
Yeah.
Like, what's more real? Our internet identity? Is Boser real? Is Respect Jordan? I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know where I'm going.
The aspect for me, the most interesting part of it, and I don't know if I didn't tell the story with you guys, but I wrote and produced a movie for Snoop Dogg called Snoop Dogg's Code of Horror. Campy horror movie with Anthony Mount, Randy Roderick. I had guys from Detroit Pistons. I had Lamar Odom. I had Tayshaun Prince. I had Danny.
That's so cool.
Wow.
I had Danny Trejo. I had, all these just random interesting people. But the point is that in writing this movie, Snoop and I got invited to Comic-Con for the first time. And of course, Snoop showed up late. And I had to do the Q&A on the phone with him, like with a huge room of people. Snoop shows up late, gets there in time for the media, but we're walking around in the bro. This is 10 years ago, bro. And I was like, I don't know, man, but it's pretty crazy, right? And so we kind of first found it there, and then I went back years later with another movie I did called Repo: The Genetic Opera that I produced with the Saw guys. And
you produced Repo?
Yeah, you know that movie?
I love that movie. Holy shit!
Tell people that's like my greatest experience and my worst experience, because the greatest experience was I'll just quickly on that. Basically, the worst experience was that Lionsgate marketed this movie as a Paris Hilton musical, right? It was a death blow, right? The good news is, I said, you can written up a Newsweek. Bad news, you're going to be a Paris Hilton musical. And you'll get a screening in Winnetka, and when the research numbers don't come in, they'll tank the movie.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Darren Bousman took the movie, directed, screened it, four-walled it all over the country, did a tour around it, which is what we were hoping to do with this one. And people tattooed their bodies with people characters. They did shadow cast. And it was amazing to see it come to life like that. But the point is that you make these films, and like Code of Horror in this film, and you hope someday they become full classic, right? Because you're putting out what you can, and you're hoping for the best to find the audience. And that's why we appreciate you guys shouting it out, because it is hard to get movies out there. It's very difficult. You got a big ass multi-million-dollar marketing budget and not $10,000, $20,000, $30,000.
Yeah.
And I am curious, what is your plan, or was your guys' plan, trying to push something like Cosplay Universe out? Because I can't imagine this is one that is going to be easy to make money on. And I don't say this in a slight of, you guys just made something poor or anything of the sort. But like, this is such, as much as like geek community is growing, like this is a niche concept, and getting people to pay for this, to watch this, like you're gonna have to have some level of interest going into this. So like, what was the plan to actually be able to push something like that?
Well, it was unfortunate we didn't get the full community behind it, because you really didn't have the mouthpiece marketing piece to get people behind it. And we had a couple of our stars do posts for the movie, but the amount of emotion you really got to put in, not a couple of posts, right? It's a lengthy battle, because everybody's busy promoting their own stuff every con, every week, some of the stars paid a lot of money to do posts. So you have competition against yourself, and that's hard. So I think that us and distributor were hoping for more buy-in community, because it's a really good film, and we just didn't quite get that. So now we're just like guerrilla warfare, interviewed at times, spread the word, and that's all you can really hope for. Just over time, that people catch you. So you guys, much appreciate to you guys.
And I can say with confidence, I'm not massive in the cosplay community. It's something I'd like to do. It's just not something I've really had an interest in, or I have an interest in, just not something I have a fast of easily getting into. And I was mentioning this to Jordan earlier. I try to ingest any content creators content we have coming on, so I have a backbone to like stand on. And there's a lot of people I'm like, let me force my way into this, like, so I have a talking point for them. But I was looking forward to cosplay, and as soon as I clicked on, like, I have a short attention span. It's very easy for me to get distracted. And there wasn't a moment in cosplay I was like, hold on, let me rewind this and go back. I genuinely enjoyed every minute of this. You guys did a fantastic job. The shot selections were fantastic. And how you decided to tell the story was truly gripping. And I can honestly say, with the power of the internet, especially things like TikTok, something like this in such a growing community, I have a hard time believing that this won't get some level of just the internet doing what the internet does and pushing it out because it is something of quality.
Jordan, more TikTok clips, my friend. Let's start chopping them up and getting them out there.
Yeah, we're definitely at the point where we haven't quite had that moment where I think people really know the film exists. So we're still in search of that one moment where maybe it's what we're about to say right now. I'm not sure. Yeah, I hope you're right. I think you're right that the internet will do what it does. But right now we're in the clawing at that and figuring out what that is to like make sure people know about it.
And I think we're going to do our part to help spread the message.
Absolutely.
Because like 7 years of your life to tell the story of a cosplay community, like that's a hero right there. That's a superhero in the cosplay community. And the fact that right now all that work's gone mostly unseen. We want to help make sure that people realize that their story is being told, but it's being told in at least my opinion, and cosplayers pop off in the chat, a respectable way, an honest way, a life-giving way. Like I said, by the time I got to the end, I text Jordan immediately and I was like, I'm honestly getting choked up. Just because you guys have hit the nail on the head of what cosplay can do and what it has become and what it means for people. And so I salute you for that.
Thank you, man. We appreciate you. We really do. Can't say it. So in the chat, side note, Sarah Brightman is a great book. So that's a quick, I don't know, we only have a minute left, but basically, Sarah Brightman was replacing another opera singer in that movie, and she was like, I need a month, 2 months to rehearse. We're like, yeah, 2 weeks. I'll do it. And she did it. She was amazing at Blind Mag in that movie. I love it.
Oh my God. See, John, you and I just need to hang out so we can talk about Repo. It was a movie in college, my friends. Like,
you want to get Darren Bousman or one of the guys who did the movie with me, I'm sure they'd love to come on and chop it up, because like this movie, it's a lifetime. You know what I mean? You just do it, attached to it forever on it.
Okay, we'll be in touch. And T, if you haven't seen it, we're gonna watch it.
I have not, but I'm always looking for something new. So please,
it's right up your alley.
Oh, fantastic then.
And Jonathan, I know you said a minute ago that we just have a minute left. We actually are going for another 30. If you need to pop off, you are welcome to hop off, but you're also welcome to hang for another 30 minutes.
Sure.
Sweet.
Yeah, so what other questions, thoughts, interests? Because we got tons of stories on them, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, we're not even through the list I wanted to cover. I knew a lot of times I was telling Jordan we play a game about 9:30 or at least 9:30 Eastern Standard. We'll switch to some ridiculous game. I was like, we're probably not going to get to it because I got lots of questions. Jordan, you said something earlier that especially brought up a question that T had about the way, almost like the epilogue of the film, focusing back on Key and is that her name? Their name?
Yeah, his name.
His name. Okay. Focusing back on him and his wanting to transition and realizing that I think I am trans and coming out to his mother. Why end the film there? Or why did you feel like that was like the perfect ribbon at the end of the story?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. Well, I'll try to tell the story as interestingly as I can. One time while I was video editing, this probably sounds made up, but it's not. One time while I was video editing on my monitor, there was this moment where I had on the left side of my monitor one of the frames of Yaya Han. She's a big part of her story. And then on the right side of the computer was Key, like just another in my viewer window of like, I guess the video editing software. I just had this moment where I'm like, hey, look, there is definitely a similarity in how they were looking. I think it might have been that they were dressed as the same cosplay, in like the same cosplay. And I just made this connection that basically like what Yaya had to overcome, we explain in the film. It's like her acceptance of her parents. And it just made me realize that that's really what Key, who's like a Gen Z cosplayer, that's the same kind of issue that they're bumping up against. And it made me realize that like one of the main themes of a cosplayer is like the challenge is this is an art form that means so much to you, but frequently your parents just, and whether it's your parents or other generations might not quite understand, like, what are you doing with all this free time?
Yeah.
So it just kind of felt like, while we document Yaya's like triumph over finally getting her family to understand what cosplay is all about by coming to a Comic-Con, it just seemed like that Key was up against the same thing, but in this current moment in time. So it just felt like the right way to end the film, because that is kind of the eternal battle of a cosplayer, is to just feel understood, or any geek or nerd or any of us,
Jordan,
really.
One of my favorite experiences on the film was screening the film this summer in Long Island. We did a premiere at a theater in Huntington. They were great promotion people. They literally went to the local Comic-Con. They set up a table. They engaged cosplayers to come with me and do the Q&A. And a number of young cosplayers came to the screening with their parents. And it was a moment that they were able to be validated of what they do with their nerdy passion. And their parents were able to see kind of how mainstream and how important this medium is. To me, that was one of the finer moments in being involved in it. Kind of like what you said about all this work, no real payoff, but like do that and you see that in action with parents, like coming up and saying thank you. I never quite understood if I can do that with this. Now I kind of get it. That bell ringer, lights people up and shows them, oh, okay, that's what my kids do. Oh, all right, well, that's cool. That's a nice community thing. And that was really a nice moment. So I think that between that and like we talked about the psychology and the gender bending of deciding they want to try different personas for me was really what I wanted to get out of this film. And, stories like Key, and also what Jordan didn't say is, the ending of the film that we had where Mexico triumphs over their adversity and kind of beats their mentor, if you will, who's married to an Italian teammate, Valentina. It was a great ending. But this, because remember, we talked about with why couldn't we have all these different runners in like the props, right? Well, for have Key to stay in the middle, towards the middle end of the film, I want to talk to my parents about the transition thing, but I don't know how to do it. So it was like left out there, just, right? What's that going to be? All of a sudden now you have a payoff for that. And if you remember that scene when she's sitting at her sewing table talking about her friends, and she says that, bang, you get to that reveal at the end. And that was like, touchdown, we got it. Okay, there we go, we're good. So that was my favorite.
And earlier when T and I were talking about it, I was like, well, I really feel like that moment encompasses what the spirit of cosplay is. That it's not only transforming into a character, it's transformative with finding your confidence, finding your identity, finding so much more within yourself than you ever thought could be possible looking from the outside in to the cosplay community.
Yeah, also something interesting is like the very last moment of the entire film is Keith's like sighing this moment of relief. I don't know if you realize it, but there was like a whole argument in the edit of like, should it be longer? Should it end on this moment of, I was like really fighting for like, it has to be the moment of the sigh, because the sigh represented to me this
It's the
just
tension
like,
being released at that point.
Exactly, right.
Yep.
It's like the catharsis of like finally my mom at least might not fully get me, but like is starting to be open to getting me, and it like comes out in that sigh, which is just really cool. And I think that may be why, like, energetically, when you're done with the film, you're kind of like, what did I just get hit with? But you got hit with like the catharsis.
Yeah,
like, that was legit catharsis. Because then,
why do I feel so much right now?
Then once the camera was like, we turned the camera off. We like, me and Key were like dancing. We're like, we did it. We got our mom to figure it out. So it really was like a jubilant moment of, you know, Key had been waiting forever to have that conversation, and it was finally over. So, or not over, but you know, it finally had happened. Something that they were waiting.
A couple of chat questions. I just want to. One asked about merch.
Yep.
We never make up shirts. We always talked about it. So that's another thing we might want to do, Jordan. Put it up on the system on demand and make it, because the logo is badass. It took a long time. Jordan, can you hold the poster up a little closer so they can see that poster?
I'll have to go deep into the background. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, the poster is another really cool story. We were trying to figure out what the heck the imagery should be for Cosplay Universe forever, and then got in this conversation with Kamui Cosplay. Svetlana was like helping us try to figure it out.
You got to talk to all the coolest people. The whole time I was like, what? Taliesin? What? Yeah. What? Kamui? Are you kidding me?
Nice. Yeah, she's incredible. They're super inspirational. But she was like, you should talk to my friend Zach Fisher, who's a graphic designer, because she collaborates with Zach to create the artwork to inspire her armor. So he's like created this incredible niche where he'll work with cosplayers to create their their concepts so that they can then build them in 3D. So we went over to Zach and we're like, help us, we don't know what we're doing. And he just got it, because he's had his own really meaningful experience with the cosplay community, creating a lot of art for cosplayers to create their dream origin characters. He did this crazy project called Project Ebon Blade, where he created like, I don't know, it was probably like 30 or 40 designs, and they all came to BlizzCon together, and he just had this like crazy, I've been meaning to finish the video to like tell that story. So he just got what like the cosplay community can do, and I think me and John like explained what our concept was, and he was like, I got it. And he just like gave us like 2 weekends where he just worked nonstop, didn't go to sleep, and somehow gave us this really awesome transformative design that shows like, it's supposed to sort of reflect the community, but at the same time the like transformational elements that you can. I could go into a whole masterclass on what's going on in this thing. Wait, there's one really cool thing I gotta show you. Zach, let's see here. Zach explained he did some crazy trick where he leads your eye in with this thunderbolt that he designed, and then it becomes this infinity sign situation that he has you like looking around the image through.
Oh wow.
So I don't know, he's got some like esoteric, communistic stuff going on in here. So
anything else about the different levels of people's work? Like when he sat and talked about the design and the code, and how it should work and how it should look and why this color should be used. And it's like the depth of their mind, creators. That's the beautiful thing that you want to be working with. Like they have a vision, they have a concept, and they deliver it. You know what I'm saying? Jordan, you're wearing the poster.
That's right. I've also turned this into a crazy sandwich board to go cons and yell at people to go watch the movie.
Well, I need to know where I can get one, because I've got a perfect space on my wall to fill in. Because I genuinely enjoy the poster. That's fantastic. It's eye-catching. It's beautiful. And I've got a great hole on my wall. So whenever you guys decide to start selling things,
we will send you the file, and
you've got it there.
Oh yeah, we've got some extras. We'll ship you one. That'd be sick.
Right. Also, one more.
Jonathan, you tend to be breaking up a little bit throughout the stream, so I don't know if leaning forward might have helped a little bit with your sound. Exactly. Put your eye on the microphone like a real professional streamer. Yeah, Alex, other question was, do you have any upcoming projects with the universe?
Not the universe. Jordan and I just directed, I produced a really interesting film. It's not universe-wide, but it is singer-songwriter about the birth of two singer-songwriters coming out into the world together, and the question of unrequited love. And Jordan's partner, Patrick, wrote this film along with UCLA 25-year-old girl, and it's really strong. It's called Link Up. We're going to be putting that out next year. Great music, really nice film. And then the lead is in that movie with Russell Crowe and Zac Efron, directed by Peter Farley, called The Greatest Beer One. It just came out on Apple. And Tim Hopkins in that. And Nico is a star. That's a really strong film that we're going to have a feature out next year. Producer on and shot most of it.
Very
I'm gonna need a
cool. Okay.
list of these films to just really go through the entire catalog at this point.
You need your whole canon.
On a cosplay related note, though, we do have there's still a bunch of stories that I have to edit for more cool stories from the Cosplay Universe sessions. So do follow us on Instagram and TikTok because they're slowly coming out. I have this really, really good story I still have to put together from Anime Expo, where I ran into this couple that got engaged on the floor. So it's gonna be a good one.
See, Boser, we're not behind on editing. We can take 7 years as long as we put it out eventually.
Yeah,
we're not doing anything wrong.
We need to show each other more grace. Wow.
Jonathan and I was gonna say, Jonathan and I have constantly when we're just talking, we kind of feel how did we spend 7 years with this project? We're losers. But I was recently on another podcast, and somebody was like, you know what? No, 6 years, that's how long this should have taken. And now I'm taking that to be exactly. This needed to take 6 years. That's the way to look at it.
It cost us 2 years, right? So that's 2 years. Look, I put my rock movie out online during the pandemic, and I was like, okay, I got to see it a couple times in film festivals, and then William Morris or CA screens when we were screening for artists, and it was good, but to not see it in the theater was tough. But we wanted to wait this one out, and we wanted to see it in the theaters, and we wanted to get the reactions, like I said, on Long Island. Jordan had some good screenings in LA. So it's a tough one, because these movies are very hard to get into the theaters.
Yeah.
We had a theater with a Brahma that we had them in theaters, get this in theaters. We played France, we played in Australia, we played in New York, we played LA, we played in a couple other markets. So that was a blessing. The problem is getting people to come out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So a blessing and a curse.
And I almost... Sorry, T, go ahead.
So kind of spinning off, it's not 100% involved with this, more just an indie film type question. Matt Arnold and Freddie Wong talk often about how the indie film festival is such a dying thing. Do you guys ever feel like you're going to have to pivot with the type of projects you do in an effort of just getting that the eyes you need? Or do you guys think you know what, I'm here for the artistry, the eyes that do see this are what we're doing this for? Is there ever a point where you're man, I have to give up the passion for the sustenance almost?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just came from the Hamptons Film Fest and seeing movies with a crowd. There's nothing quite like it. Being at Sundance every year, probably for the last 40 years I've gone, there's nothing quite like that. The problem is, it's a really false bellwether of life, in the sense that you get a good reaction if your film is good. If your film is not good, you're not booked.
Right.
Only screening really good films. And then the question is, how many films will actually get bought, right? My friend produced the movie Summer Soul, won an Oscar. That played during COVID, played opening night at Sundance. The film I worked on years ago, also was opening night at Sundance. And that film was just that good. And it ended up turned it into a TV series. But still, the majority of people you ask about Blind Spotting, and it stars Daveed Diggs, who was the original Jefferson and Hamilton.
Hell yeah, Jefferson. Yeah.
Yeah, and also he's on that series about the train that moves around the world after the apocalypse.
Snowpiercer.
Thank you. But he's a star. But like, this movie, for example, Spotting, which got all this festival love, ended up being picked up by Lionsgate in a bidding war, and then they put it out against literally Mission Impossible, something like that, and got buried. And it didn't until Obama called it one of the best films of 2018. Nobody heard of it. And the stars was like, oh wait, we should make a TV series out of that. So even things that get to Lionsgate, people got to Lionsgate, Lionsgate got to Lionsgate. It's like being signed to a record label. You say, oh my God, I made it. I'm signed to a record label. Yeah, but dude, they got 50 acts they got to put out. Hit after hit after hit. For them to focus on you, you'll be dropped. It'll be over, right? And so the cycle of our media, and there's so much music, so many films, so much stuff competing for your attention, that it does really bum your head out that why am I spending all this time doing this, right? Because monetarily it's very hard to make money, let alone make a living. So you end up like Jordan, is shooting hired, he does great work. Anytime you call on Jordan, that's not possible. Blog Jordan is hired. But I just look at, I produced this movie, Muhammad Ali, which is amazing, with the man of Vudu. He had an idea to shoot a movie about Muhammad's hometown ago. And so I got paid to work on the movie for like 2 years. It was amazing. And that's what their hope is to find those opportunities to get paid. But when you create your own stuff, you find that it's really
Jordan, I think you're muted.
I muted myself. Damn
it. There you go.
I was gonna say that one thing that I was recently talking when we did a Twitter watch party with Yahya Han and some of the other cast of the film, and what came out organically was that somebody asked what are the new trends or what are some of the new challenges of the cosplay community.
Yeah.
And what they ended up, these 4 really talented cosplayers came up with, I think it's fascinating because it's probably we're all identify it. It's basically now they're Cosplay Universe 2, the enemy is the algorithm, which is the enemy for all.
Get Boser started.
Yeah.
To get me started.
Yeah, exactly. Well, any creator is we're all in this together to try to get our stuff shown, but it's not even us versus each other anymore. It's us versus the AI that basically prevents you from getting seen.
Freaking hamster wheel that they make you run on, so they make money. You don't get any attention.
Well, right. You guys have your live stream. We have just trying to get people to know that this film exists, and we're probably only being shown to 100 of our 1,200 followers. And then the cosplayers have the same issue where they're they don't know how long to spend on each cosplay because the algorithm asks them to just put up new stuff all the time. So then they have to actually turn their brain into am I going to spend 3 months on an epic build, or am I gonna go lowest common denominator and just make sure I get something out every day?
Yeah,
and it's
Jordan, that's a parallel with music artists, right? Wait, I gotta put up content. Do I do a fancy music video, or do I just do a crazy piece of me on the street or whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's in the same boat, in the old school mentality. I teach also my kids. I'm the old school people wanted to make sure it's perfect before you get the music video off. Today we're just churning and moving.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, what side is it? You know what I mean? I don't know if there's the right answer.
Right. Well, it's almost like we're in the movie Terminator, but instead of it being us versus the robot,
yeah,
for life, it's kind of us versus the AI that we programmed. It's killing us. It's killing us.
Slowly but surely.
Well, I know I want to get this in just because we are getting towards the end. I do hope we've made it very clear that not outside of just Cosplay Universe, any project that you guys put out, please let us know. Let us divulge in it so we can help you put it out into the universe. Because at the end of the day, the only way to fight back against that algorithm is having people in your corner to help you support and get out of that and help get eyes in. That's 100% why we do this.
be good to come do a performance. Have the kids from have the Brink Elf come perform for you guys because they're really talented. And show some clips of the movie. I mean, that'd be fun. One way to get it out.
Yeah, I feel like this gotta be part 1. We gotta come back.
I mean, I guess twist your arm. You got to come back.
All right, I'm going back to the football game, gentlemen. Much love.
Hey, it was a pleasure meeting you.
And we really appreciate it. And with all the folks out there watching, definitely, it's worth 82 minutes of your time and $3.99. Skip that latte tomorrow.
That's right. Skip that latte. Pick up the movie.
Pick up a rental cosplay universe, and your life will be better for it.
It really will. Like, I was so heartwarmed. Thank you, Jonathan, for hanging out while you could. But I kind of want to loop in this earlier thing, John, that you said that conversation kind of moved away from it, but I thought it was so pertinent to the conversation.
Hour 45 minute, hour 15 minute digression.
No, it's all good. I told you, if things come up, we talk about it. Like, yep. I love this conversation. But we were talking about families not supporting, like Yaya Han's family didn't support her, and Key's mother didn't maybe fully support her, not knowing she was. Oh, John's back. Hi, welcome back. Oh, he's gone again. Okay, bye. But John said, as someone whose mother didn't quite understand cosplay until she accompanied me to a con, I can feel that. At first she thought, well, I'm not entirely sure why you enjoy doing this, but okay. But then after she went, she realized, no, this is really pretty cool. And I kind of feel like, I'll let you speak on it, but I kind of feel like that encompasses what cosplay universe can do, but people don't fully understand why the cosplayers are doing what they do. But through watching your film, they get that little glimpse and they can see what it means, just like Yaya Han's mother got to see what it meant to people to give her a hug and to speak with her for a minute.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I'm at a strange point where I'm like, how much more time do I spend trying to get this movie out versus like working on the next project? But I can't walk away because I feel like this film is this strange little tool that any cosplayer can use to have their friends and family get the download of like what cosplay is, and by that they will like understand you as a son, as a daughter, as a cousin, as a weird uncle, whatever it takes. So it's like the movie, we didn't really, when we started off, we were just trying to answer the question like, what is cosplay? Where did it come from? Why is it showing up now? But when the movie's over and we've made it, what we realized is we stumbled into making this tool that will like let cosplayers connect with the people in their lives
exactly
who don't get it. Because basically the film is a like small, digestible hour and a half of like, now you can get it. So that's why I gotta keep like trudging along here and make sure everybody knows that this like tool exists for really, it's not even about cosplays, it's about like families repairing each other and people getting closer together by just enjoying this. It's a classic. You should watch this movie over the holidays. I think it's probably a good use of an hour and 20 minutes to just bond with your family.
Honestly, it's not a bad idea because you just take the theme. The big theme I took out of it was just identity, because and as many people in the film discussing it, they've doing cosplays how they found themselves. And even if you're showing this to people that may not necessarily understand cosplay, they do understand identity. They do understand what they show the world versus what they don't show the world. It's all, everybody at the end of the day wants to be seen for who they are, but they don't know how to do it. And you guys really paved the way to open up the conversation in a real easy and a like lighthearted way for you to have that like hard-hitting conversation. It doesn't even have to necessarily be about cosplay, but you cracked the door for whether people want to just ease their way into having a conversation they don't want to have, or you've opened the door to just kick the bitch down and have then that hard-hitting conversation just at the forefront. And while not every conversation is going to go as well as Kai and his mother's, it's still going to, I feel like it's going to give people the strength they need to be willing to have that conversation.
Yeah, thanks. I think, and that's kind of why the last scene ended up naturally feeling right, is that it's somewhat of like an instructions to the viewer at home to do the same thing with their like friends and family. because the last scene is Key watching the film with their mom, with his mom, to understand. Gets pretty meta, but like that is kind of unconscious instructions to the viewer is like, go demand that your mom watch this with you.
By the end of the film, I almost felt like a hypocrite, T, because the goal of our channel, we are always saying geek out loud, because when you geek out loud, you will attract your tribe, and when you attract your tribe, then you won't feel alone. And that's exactly what cosplay has done. But then I got thinking about myself. I'm like, how often do I even downplay like my role as a geek and who I am as a geek just because I don't want to be othered or I don't want to be the outcast?
See, and it's not even being othered. Like, I took away from the film is that I still have family and close friends like, why are you doing this? And it doesn't matter why I'm doing it because at the end of the day I enjoy it, and that's really all that should matter to you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm as nerdy and geeky as it comes. Like, it doesn't it's who I am at the end of the day. And I don't do a lot of the geek out sessions, but it's genuinely one of my favorite things about our channel is getting to meet individuals like you who create something so powerful and so incredible, and actually getting to highlight, like, this is the why we do it. This is the why we do this. And at the end of the day, not everybody's going to understand it. And does that suck? Yeah. But I can, at the end of the day, be proud of, hey, this is why I do it. Did we have 15 people watch this today? Sure, maybe that was it. But we still had 15 eyes listen in, pay attention to, and have not, even if they don't have the conversation with others, they have the conversation with themselves of, do I know who I am? Will I talk to anybody about who I want to be? What do I want to become? And doing this gives that outcome, that outlook, that perspective, that ability to be true to who you are.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think you guys made me reminded me of like what the heck, why it was worth spending 6 years doing this, because it's not really a movie about cosplay. It's really like this energetic tool for people to connect with those that they care about, and for people to felt like listen and understood for them themselves to realize why the heck you do this. You know, it's not really just about the action. It's about the connection that the art form allows for people to have for discovering themselves or connecting with others.
And I do mean this when I say whether it be this project, whether it be
there's the sign.
Whether it be snippets of this, whether it be anything that you put out, anything that Jonathan puts out, please notify us. Let us know. Boser lives on Instagram. I need to do better about it, but I won't because it overwhelms me. We've got
You're on
you.
Twitter.
Like, I am on Twitter. You've got us in your corner. Any way we can help you, we absolutely will. My fiance is not around, so I will give you money to support you at the end of the day. Why? Because
she heard you, duck.
I know she's gonna come around the corner any moment now. But at the end of the day, like, this is why we do it. And again, I admire what you do. I aspire to do what you do at some point in my life. So I can relate to some aspect of the stress behind putting 6 hours into a project. Like, does this pay off at the end of the day? And even if
6 hours, imagine 6 years.
Right. At the end of the day, if this doesn't financially hit a goal that you may have helped yourself, I do hope at the end of the day that the heart and soul of this project at the end of the day spoke to, I'm willing to say, at least 2 of us here. I'll speak on behalf of Boser that I want you to do this for a living, and I hope this meets every monetary goal that you have set for yourself. But at the end of the day, the heart of this message spoke to us. We're happy about this, and I genuinely enjoyed this project thoroughly.
Thank you. Thank you for, man, I feel like I gotta come. I just want to join your guys' weekly crew here.
Feels good, right?
I feel like the mission of our film is really the mission of your show. Just like, we're all here to just make the world a better place through conversation and healing each other.
Yes.
Through,
yes. Yes, and I said it at the start of the stream, and it comes full circle that I've been racking my brain why so many of our guests up for Geek Out sessions are cosplayers. This is why. Because we all have the same goal when, like, cosplay is, like, pure concentration of geeking out loud about whatever you love. You are literally becoming that character. And
Yeah,
so that catalyzed for me after watching your film. I said, that's why. That's why. It's not just because I follow a lot of cosplayers, because this is why. We are on the same team here.
I think cosplayers are on the leading edge of realizing that, because it's kind of like there's this great quote that we yet again couldn't keep in the movie, but it was by Grant Morrison, who makes a brief appearance in the film, the guy that we did our first documentary about.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I think these comic conventions and everybody dressing up is a flash forward into a couple of generations when this is way more normalized and everyone's just wearing capes, and we're like way more in touch with our dream self and wanting to put it out there in the normal waking reality. And I don't know, that's what I think that might be very true. Like in a couple of generations or some years.
See, I don't even know if it's going to be generations. I genuinely think we're on the cusp of it. Boser and I have talked about this often. It's like I wouldn't say we got bullied in the extent that we see in cinema and whatnot, but being a geek and geeking out loud growing up, it wasn't accepted at the time. And we're at the point where those who got ridiculed for being geeks and being nerds and being dorks, are now in control of what we see on the internet. And it's blowing up in this facet because we no longer have to hide who we are. We can now be ourselves and be free. I truly think it's just around the corner that you're going to no longer have to live in fear of being who you are. John made a comment in chat earlier. The farther away you are from a con, the more weird looks you get, and the closer you are, the more excited the reactions you get. We're literally on the corner of it's gonna get to the point nobody's gonna pay attention to cosplay or pay attention to that visual identity surfacing, because it's gonna be such a commonality.
And you touch on it in the film that it might be even more common eventually here in the States, but already in Japan, it's light years ahead of being normalized in manga and just cosplaying on the street. So the future is a Comic-Con that we're just never going to have to leave. And I can't wait.
And you guys are definitely doing your part of bringing that, because it'll probably be online. I mean, it kind of already is. My God. Whenever we do end this, we all have to end with a honorary sigh.
Well, that's coming up in just a minute. Jordan, thank you so much for taking time out of your life and making this documentary, and then a few more hours of that life force and spending it with us. It meant so much to hear your background, your stories, and just being able to connect with you in this way.
Yeah, I'm so glad you guys. That was amazing. I learned so much from everything that you guys said. It made me realize why the heck I spent so much time doing this in a new way. And yeah, definitely. If you guys need anything, let me know. I can help with LA filming remote scenes if you need it. I think we're all on the same wavelength here, which I assume that the those who tuned in as well are probably on that wavelength. We all just want to be seen, heard, and understood.
Yep.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
But everyone in the chat, thanks for hanging out. We're about to take this energy to a raid. We're going to raid a She Anime podcast, so stick around in a minute. But T will be live for another Geek Out Sesh.
Yes.
Who are you geeking out with on Wednesday, T?
Decent Studios.
Decent Studios! He's a king. He's a king.
He is, truly.
Wow. Coming out.
Yeah, and I knew that. I remember when you first met him, and we immediately latched onto him. So the fact that you get to hang out with him for the second time, because I heard your voice. He called you on a stream once.
That's not a 4 Geeks by Geeks appropriate conversation.
It was not, but that area is getting grayer every day. And then
Jordan,
Thursday,
I'll tell you that conversation post.
yeah. And Thursday we'll be back with another episode of City of Mist, our ongoing TTRPG in a noir mystery pop culture kind of setting. It's really fun. Check it out if you want to. And then please go follow Jordan everywhere, or Cosplay Universe everywhere. I'll put the link to their Instagram back here because it was having some glitches in their link tree, but it's there. And you can also use Command Universe to take you directly to Amazon Video. Watch it right now.
Yeah, Amazon, Apple TV, Xbox, Google Play, and Vudu. So a lot of the streaming services, you can watch the movie immediately. That'd be cool. Check it out.
Sorry, Cantina, not a cue, not this time. But Jordan, we have a little tradition other than a sigh. We'll end with a sigh, but we always say, until next time, I'm Boser.
I'm T.
I'm Jordan.
And you just keep geeking out. Geeking out. Everyone sigh together.